All right, my friends. Hey, it's me, Peter Bowden. I am glad to be connecting with you today. I'm in my home office in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And we're going to talk today in this session, about congregations, our move online, and visitors. Really want to help you engage with your new visitors. I've been working with congregations for couple decades now as a professional consultant, before that as a lay leader. So I've worked with all different aspects of congregational life. I worked with congregations and small group ministry and community building first. Kind of worked from youth ministry to developing small group models, which we really have spread nationally. So really using small groups and different community building and connecting strategies to support congregations. And then when social media came out, I moved right into helping us use digital strategies. You should also know, just given the context of where we are today, I also work professionally as a television producer. So I work on nationally syndicated PBS kids shows. So I have digital media training, production experience, and all of these things are coming into play now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to set myself a timer. And can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right? I was helping my congregation do their live, or the congregation where my wife is on staff, do their live streaming. So I just want to make sure all my setup is good. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Yes? We good? Good? All right. Let me just adjust one thing. All right. I want to pull up your comments so I can see your comments. All right, good. All right. Thank you for checking in on the audio. All right. So, one of the things that we are dealing with now is, for years, we've been dealing with social media, smartphones taking over people's attention, constantly having smartphones in hand. And there's been this shift over the last, say, 5 years or so, where I've watched people go from having digital technology serve as a way to help them quickly kind of learn about what's happening with the congregation. And if they want to visit the congregation, go and visit that congregation in person. Okay, so really, like, social media being a great way to really promote your congregation, but then people would visit to go check it out. But as online video has really exploded, we're in a video first world now. I've seen a shift so that people started not just learning about a congregation, then going to visit. They really start to use social media to test drive a congregation and determine if it's right for them. So if you go back before this COVID-19 coronavirus, I was finding that people who were interested in the congregation were really trying to determine if your congregation was a match for them before they would visit in person. So if you do a search for my name and digital path to membership, you'll find a lot of videos and things online where I talk about how do we use digital strategies to help people really connect with our congregations offline. So all those resources and trainings are out there. What's happened now, as we've suddenly been forced to move our congregational life online, is instead of trying to connect people who are exploring us online in a digital space, trying to figure out how to get them to move into gathering with us offline, where our congregations gather. Suddenly our congregations have moved into that digital space too. And so, because all of your offerings are moving into Zoom, more Facebook, more everything digital, your visibility, your engagement is going up, okay, which is fantastic, just generally in terms of where our ministry should be in this day and age. But we're seeing a spike in visitors because all of a sudden they have immediate access to what you're doing, and there isn't the distance, where they have to try and get from being in the digital space to deciding, is this congregation right for me? Oh, am I going to visit the worship service? Am I going to do this? Is it right for my kids? All your stuff's online now, friends, so they can engage. So we have to be ready for first-time visitors. If you are tuning in live on Facebook or wherever you're watching this as a recording, if there's a place to comment, because some of you are on podcast, share, like, what are you observing in terms of visitors? I'd love to hear, like, are you noticing it? Some of the concerns that have come up from people I've been talking to is, as we have everybody moving into different Zoom worship gatherings, different chat, people are commenting on Facebook live streams, there isn't a clear way for the newcomers to be tended to. And so what I want you to do is to really accept the fact that right now and for the foreseeable future, and also after we get to a point where we can move back to more congregational life as normal, your visitors, the people exploring your congregation, as long as we have digital technology and are social media and video oriented, they're going to be trying to determine if your congregation is right for them and if you care about them based on how you interact with them when they're online. Okay, so there are things we have to learn for this specific context today in COVID-19, but this has long-term implications. I find that if somebody is going, and I do a lot of speaking on this and talking to newcomers via social media, so I get a lot of people sharing their horror stories of trying to connect with congregations. I find that people, if they feel like a congregation might be right for them and they're checking out online, they spend time engaging with your community and they actually want to have the experience, and this is like the impossible order, practically. They want to feel welcomed, greeted, affirmed, and like they belong in your community online before they visit in person. Well, so the question is, how do we do that? How do we have people feel these things when, like really our congregations have been offline? Well, now we're online and we can do it. So I was thinking that what I would do is I'm going to share some of the questions that people have submitted and then go through some of the specific strategies I think we can use to really help people. So one, a membership, UU membership professional sharing that so much of what they do, so as a staff person, week to week, is relational. How do you keep those important relational connections alive digitally? Question 2, what do you do with breakout rooms? I've been noticing what we've done so far in our first 2 weeks, too much chaos, and we're worried about losing people as the existing members are dominating the conversation and all the existing connections. It's like that tight club. So what do we do with that? There's some more things on breakout rooms I want to share. All right, next question. How do you welcome people in a chat? Like if we're having, especially these larger congregations, that where a Zoom meeting where everyone's on camera is unwieldy. So a lot of congregations are using Zoom webinar, or maybe you're live streaming somewhere, YouTube or Facebook, and you discover there's a newcomer in the chat. How do you do that? And then a bunch of questions came in about stewardship in this time. All right. So let's, if you have additional questions, feel free to comment wherever you're looking at this live or recorded, and I'm going to do follow-up sessions. I should also note that I work with our congregations professionally as a coach, consultant, and trainer. So I'm getting all the inquiries now to help people ramp up their digital strategy. How are we using video? All that stuff. Actually, I had to turn off my scheduling tool because the inquiries are coming in too quickly. I've got the child at home doing the homeschool thing, everything. So I'm mapping out my schedule right now to figure out exactly how many consultations I can handle. Just like little Zoom hour-long sessions where I can work through a body of stuff. I'll be sharing that soon, but I just want to get my family and everyone on board. Like, all right, we can handle so many sessions, and I'm going to prioritize how to do that in a way where I can work with the most people as possible. And some things I think are better just to share with all of you via Facebook Live strategy sessions like this. So I'm going to keep more of like the specific problem solving and helping individuals with skill training and their individual congregational strategy to my private consultations, but things that I think are just great questions that we can address here together live. We'll do it live, all right? I want to help as many of you as possible, but always your questions really fuel my work. So send the questions. All right, let us go to the whole notion of this is relational. So first, I want you to know that we've entered a time when, look, Mark Zuckerberg has made it clearly stated, we've entered a video-first world where the majority of content online that people are consuming is relational. Is video, and it's people. The thing that really gets the most attention is when people can engage with someone they know and feel a connection with via video. So what I want all of you to do is make sure that your key staff and leaders are all prepared and able to go live on Facebook or whatever channels you're using, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and share live video messages almost like I'm here with you, because being present online, showing up daily in people's feeds via short little messages, sharing personal updates, sharing stories, sharing what's going on, so that even if you're not having, you're right there with every individual is getting face-to-face time or the equivalent with you. And just showing up repeatedly, that consistency is going to translate to relationship. And also the algorithm on Facebook, if you're sharing interesting, relevant, valuable, inspiring, whatever it is, content on Facebook specifically, but also it's true for most social media platforms, their algorithm, which determines what people care about, they're going to learn that people like your content. But showing up consistently is key. If you only show up like in big bursts around Sunday, well, that algorithm's learned that all the rest of the week, these individuals like this channel and that church, that channel and this influencer and that person, and they're engaged with all this other content, all these other sources of information, all this other video, especially not yours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What do you think they're going to do on Sunday when all that content is still available and then there's a little blip from you? They're going to feature the other content, okay? So you have to be showing up. So first, think about your showing up as a congregation, as leaders on video, as a way to show up in people's lives, okay? And that's just like on social media. I want you to do that as you start trying to build that practice in. At least, say, if you have a called minister, I want your minister on at least once a day for a minute, okay? Just, it doesn't have to be long, but repeated points of contact. Obviously, fellowships and other people can be on, but like at a minimum, we want your minister showing up. Live video is more engaging than pre-recorded video because people know you're there and they can ask questions and like you can respond to things, and that Facebook's algorithm, we know that live is a little bit more powerful, okay? In terms of relationship, I'll talk about Zoom in a minute. You can, as you're showing up on video, ask questions. Don't just broadcast, but you can say things. Imagine whatever you are choosing to focus on in your weekly services, and this is something I talk about a lot in different trainings, and just same message. Whatever you're going to be talking about, share different thoughts, things you're reading, questions that relate to what your primary worship service is going to be about, and ask people their opinions. It's like, hey, we're going to be exploring topic A on Sunday, or topic B on our new Wednesday evening chapel service we're doing, whatever it is. What's your experience like exploring this? Share articles, videos, thoughts you have in a comment on this post, and I'm going to read them and interact, and that's going to help inform what we do. So use showing up in video online consistently. It doesn't have to be low production value is fine. I have extra lights. Like I have a little bit more media stuff around, tools, but just on your smartphone, showing up regularly, but be relational. Work on being consistent and showing up builds a relationship, but be collaborative. Don't just broadcast at people, but ask questions. How can you involve people in your congregation in the conversations you're having, in curating resources? Imagine going online just real quick and saying, hey, this is a special message to all of you who have experience in our congregation and beyond, because this is broadcasting to our larger community via Facebook. Do any of you have great experience working with children and children's activities? Or maybe you've just seen some great activities online. We want to start curating maybe it's a Pinterest board or some other list of the great activities that you're aware of, you're knowing, you're using, whatever. And so as a leader of the congregation, getting your membership and friends and people beyond to be sharing their ideas with you. So I could do, like right now, I can go live and say, hey, we're looking to gather the best kids activities, share the activities and links to them in comments on this post, the ones you like, and we're going to pull together from our congregation a top 10 kids activities for preschoolers through this age. So that's a little interactive, but it could be things related to spiritual exploration. It could be related to how you're supporting businesses. But whatever you're doing, just think about how you can involve people, ask questions. Whenever you share content online, you want to ask questions because why? Well, that's relational, but also when you ask questions and people comment and that tells the algorithms people care about your content. So if you're only talking and you're never asking questions, your content's going to take a hit. You're going to be seen less because the algorithms are going to say, oh, people don't care about that because they didn't like it or comment. Okay, so we really have to think about, in terms of relationship, two-way conversation. Now, Zoom is changing the game in many ways because all of a sudden we've gone from using social media and broadcasting, and maybe people are doing interactive things, but Zoom is bringing us online, face-to-face on video, which is really replicating different kinds of gatherings in powerful ways. So our ministry is never going to be the same after this because whatever happens moving forward, timelines, we're going to have Zoom kinds of gatherings. I think stay with us because they're going to be really effective. What I would say to the question of the chat, if you are, my wife works at First Parish in Concord as Minister of Religious Education. I'm helping them doing their live streaming, and so we're doing Zoom webinar. And many congregations are. Why Zoom webinar? Well, because for a very large congregation, you just can't have the capacity of all the people trying to be on video. It just doesn't work. So you got to create other opportunities. So if you're on Zoom webinar and the primary way people are interacting is watching your primary speakers, your Zoom webinar panelists on video and interacting in the chat, what do you do when somebody says, this is my first time? Well, first, let's back up. If you're doing any kind of Zoom for congregational gatherings that are open, worship services, open to your larger audience, you need to have people beside your primary speakers whose specific task is being in that chat and being your hospitality, your greeters, and really looking, and this is sophisticated work, who's in the room? Who's in the space? Is there anyone we've never seen before? You can do Zoom where people just click a link and pop in. I actually think in some ways having people register is good because it gives you a chance to you get people's names in advance, and before you get to the session, say your worship service, say you're doing Zoom webinar to 500 people or 200 people or 100. If you have people registered and they're getting an email with the link to join the session, you have their name and email contact, which is great for online visitor follow-up. You can have somebody go through that list in advance before Sunday. And I know we're all really busy, so some of these things you have to get to the point where you can work in the time. But whoever your membership committee, maybe you could share the list with them and they go through and look, is there anybody who we're expecting in worship? Oh, there are 5 newcomers. They have to plan on interacting with them in the chat. But what I would say is at this time, you want to be scheduling regular, I'm talking at least monthly, newcomer gatherings via Zoom. So if you're usually do newcomer gatherings on Sunday or whatever it is in the life of your congregation, maybe you thought it was, you do it quarterly. Maybe you do it monthly. I think we need to have very frequent opportunities where you say, now let's pretend this is our worship service and I'm one of the worship leaders. There's a time when we acknowledge the visitors. You can invite people. If this is your first time, say hi in the chat. We'd love to greet you. But specifically, we are gathering every week, or maybe it's every other week for you, or monthly at the latest, at the longest duration, for a newcomer gathering where we are helping you meet all the other newcomers. So like every week right now, we're seeing at least 5 or 10 or 2, whatever it is, brand new people joining our services. We want you to get to know all the other newcomers, because we know newcomer classes, knowing each other is helpful. And we want you to get to know some staff people, some of our existing members, and we're going to help you connect with our programming. And during this time, it's critical that we are all in community. And you share that one of the ways you're doing this is, one, everybody is part of some kind of small group, Zoom and related activity, circle of care. Like, I think right now, every single congregation should be dividing up your congregation into circles, small groups. Can vary the number, but where you've got this hierarchy. Your staff is supporting this pastoral care and other teams, and they're working with other facilitators, and they are working with groups, and every single person is in a group that is connected, communicating, meeting periodically. Doesn't necessarily have to be weekly, but that might be good, via Zoom or some other platform. And every single person who is participating in congregational life right now, that you know by name and you have their email, is in one of those groups. And if they're not willing to join one of those groups, you have a phone call, because that's how we're doing church right now. We're doing congregational life online, face-to-face, on video conference, and other ways. Okay? So if you set it up so that you have circles where people are networked together, so you have baseline pastoral care and other communication, other needs dealt with, and different small group offerings. You know, I'm a small group ministry fan, not just fan, I helped start the UU Small Group Ministry Network in 2001, so I've been consulting and training congregations on that for ages, okay? Small groups, small groups, small groups. This is a great time to be rolling out stronger small groups, relaunching groups, doing your Zoom groups. But whenever you're doing a gathering and there are potentially newcomers there, you invite them to identify themselves. And even if you don't know they're there, even if they don't identify themselves, somebody in the chat shares the link to your next newcomer gathering. So every single time you gather for public worship, every time you offer a program, and there's potentially newcomers there and you won't know necessarily, share the link to register for your next newcomer gathering. And I promise you, and tell me, I don't like to promise, but I highly, highly suspect that you're seeing a spike in interest. And if you offer newcomer opportunities, and your staff and other top volunteers who are doing welcoming and membership, just keep pounding. It's like, hey, our next gathering is Wednesday, or the week after next on Thursday, or maybe it's Saturday morning, whatever it is. And here are the other opportunities, but this is the newcomer class. This is the Intro to Unitarian Universalism class. This is our newcomer building your own theology, supercharged session. I mean, whatever you're doing, if you keep putting out those opportunities, your newcomers are going to sign on. You might say, well, some people like to lurk and check things out online before they actually connect and get deeply involved. Yeah, that's all is true. But I find now people think that they need community. They're researching your congregation. They found you online and they're like, is this right for me? If you tell them what your expectations are, like, here's how we're doing congregational life now. Everybody's in this kind of group. You can't just be off alone right now. We need to be connecting, and we're doing that via Zoom or whatever it is for you. Or phone conversations with people who don't want to use that technology or don't have access, whatever it is. You need to set clear expectations, saying this is how we're doing it. If you want to be part of congregational life, this is what it looks like right now. And we're having a great time doing it, even though this is a challenging time, even though we're being forced to have social distancing. We've always had a fantastic small group ministry or other program where we explore this and that, and we're still doing that via Zoom, and you're going to love it. Get involved. If you keep pitching that, people are going to get it. I can go on for too long for that. All right, now, some other questions. I got to pop open my Facebook comments in a second. Where are my comments? those of you who've been on these sessions before know I always end up having lots of different windows open. All right. I'm going to get the comments. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, I want to talk about Zoom breakout rooms. Zoom breakout rooms are fantastic. Real quick, if you're using Zoom Meeting, so where everyone can be on video, this is not in Zoom Webinar, but your Zoom Meeting where everyone is potentially on video if they turn their video camera on, their webcam, you can go into Zoom, log into Zoom on the website, like zoom.us, go to the advanced settings and turn on enable breakout rooms. Once you do that, when you're running a Zoom meeting, it'll give you the option to put people into breakout rooms. If you have people register for that meeting in advance, you can schedule people, set people to go into specific rooms in advance, or you can click to have it do random assignment to groups. Here's what I would recommend doing. Schedule specific programs via Zoom meeting where you're saying, hey, we are doing a community building connecting session where we want to just give people an opportunity to have some FaceTime with each other, to connect, have some great conversation. So on this time, this date, we're doing Zoom meeting with breakout rooms. Here's how it's going to work. Peter is going to welcome us all. We'll have a little opening gathering, chows, all that jazz, ding, ding, ding. And then we're going to be, this coming week, exploring, you choose a topic, okay? So something related to spiritual this, or spiritual disciplines, or stories of resilience. There's a great article, research I read about where following 9/11, they found that people who were the most resilient in the face of that trauma were the people who had heard stories from their families and other loved ones about the challenges they had faced. So maybe you look up that article, and I can find that and share that. You say, hey, we're going to be sharing stories of resilience and other things from our lives. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get together in the Zoom meeting, and after our opening, we're going to break you up into groups of 3 to 5, and however you choose to do it. I think for some cases it's good to go small. And we're gonna give you specific questions in time. So you're gonna have, say 5 minutes each. Maybe you do dyads. If it's 3 people, maybe so you break into groups for 15 minutes, 5 minutes each, okay, to share this specific story. And one of the things I love about Zoom breakout rooms, and I'm experimenting with this now, is they let you broadcast out a message to all your rooms. So imagine, like right now, all of you who are on here, if we were in a Zoom meeting, I could click to just send you off into breakout rooms of 3. And you'd have to say, yes, like I'm going to say, okay, to go to the room. And then I could, with all of you in your rooms with 3 people each, breakout rooms, I could say, type the question, like, here's your reflection question, take 5 minutes each. We'll send you a little reminder when it's time to switch. So you send the question and just have people answer the question. You send a little thing after a while, 1 minute left on your first person, send that to everyone. So through your Zoom breakout room controls, you can actually do a form of facilitation just by sending text messages to all the breakout room participants. So that's really powerful. You can also assign facilitators to specific rooms. So when Zoom has really powerful breakout room capabilities for saying like, all right, we're gonna put everybody in rooms. Say I could be presenting on Zoom and someone else can be working on setting up the rooms and make sure one of our designated facilitators is in the space. So if you think about just that kind of capability, we can replicate great small group gatherings. We can replicate gatherings where we do get to know you activities. And by doing that, we can really take people, and if we're good about promoting it, take people who are connecting with us for the first time and let them know, this is how you get involved in the congregation. We've got this connecting opportunity to get to know each other, which is a facilitated 1-hour session. It's gonna be fun, and it's on this theme, and we're doing that, whatever your schedule is. Then we've got these small groups, your newcomer session. Now, obviously, I can hear you. You're like, Peter, there's so much we're doing right now. We're overwhelmed. Pace yourself, okay? We gotta pace yourselves. Like for right now, like I have a million ideas for the congregations I'm working with, but I'm trying to look at with them at, all right, where are you right now? And what do we need to, people like that want to pace yourself. Give me a like if you say like, we're working really hard, we got to pace ourselves. Say like, all right, so if we just look at where you are right now, what you're doing, how can we add, say maybe it's just getting worship services online. Well, how do we take that and add a little bit more welcoming and hospitality in and do a better job of creating an opportunity for your newcomers? Maybe all you have capacity for right now is to say like, oh, once a month we can add a newcomer gathering. Yeah, we could do that. An hour newcomer gathering 3 weeks from now. Even if it's going to be 3 weeks from now, if you start telling your newcomers every time you gather, hey, if you're new and we've got, this is a great time to connect because we're doing great things and you can participate from home, here's the link to sign up. And you just keep sharing that. People are like, oh, great. All right. There's a session. It's in 3 weeks. I'm going to sign up for it. I'm going to think about it. And then the next time you invite us to sign up, then they're going to do it. What you don't want is for people to be thinking, wow, like I'm lonely, I'm isolated, I'm at home. Say maybe I don't have a family or anyone I live with, so I'm like in my house alone. And I'm connecting with this congregation. I thought, I thought if I connected with the local UUs, like I've heard so much great stuff about them, that I actually get community in some way. And like I'm in the chat and they're all talking and there's no opportunity for me to get to know anyone. Wow, here I am in a Zoom frickin' webinar with 200 Unitarian Universalists and I'm crying because they're having so much fun and they're connecting, they all know each other, and like, how do I do that? You have to give them the opportunity. So specific opportunities, and even if it's far out, 3 weeks scheduled out, fine. So work up to it. All right. How are we doing for time? All right, we're doing good. And just, this session is going to be recorded. We'll stay here. The same Facebook post, you can share it with people. I did breakout rooms, welcoming people in the chat. Yeah, so sharing your newcomer stuff. And I also think I use Zoom all the time, and for like the consulting and coaching I do, I use Calendly. It's like calend.ly. And by integrating those two together, you can have a link where you can say, here is, click this link. And so this is something you might do with newcomers. Say, hey, I'm Reverend so-and-so, or maybe like I'm Peter, I'm your membership coordinator, or Mel, someone who is doing welcoming hospitality. Hey, this is really a crazy time. A challenging time we're in. And we're trying to figure out how to replicate the welcoming and hospitality we do in person, usually online. So one of the things we're doing is, as the chair or the staff person in charge of welcoming, I'm available at like regular times throughout the week to have coffee with you via Zoom. And all you have to do is click this link and pick the time that works for you. There'll be a couple questions just to get the sense of who you are, and we'll have a chat. And depending, if you ask, we'll do it via Zoom. It's automatically scheduled, automatically put in our calendars. And if you have certain questions, I can bring that information to the session. So we have to experiment, right? We're in uncharted territory. Digital ministry, not new, but moving everything online, that is. And so we have to keep experimenting. But I think like giving people, honestly, I find it's never effective to tell people, hey, if you're new and you want to get involved, email so-and-so. That doesn't work, because people are like, what do I say? Like, you've got to give them a link to click, and specific, thing to fill out, and then it's boom, it's done. Okay. The stewardship thing. I think I'm going to do a whole session on stewardship. There's a bunch of information coming out. I get so many different things from churchy email consultants and organizations, and I'm processing everything that they're talking about. I actually have a little more digital orientation than a lot of those people. So I'm kind of like taking what they're saying and then trying to adapt it and make sense of it. So for the stewardship, I want to do a little bit more like consuming of their content, make sense of it, digest it and process it for you, and then put my spin on it. So I think that'll be helpful. But I want to tell you that and just a question came up about a Calendly link. I'll share that in a moment. And also, I'll update this post to have links to everything. So you can just kind of come back in a little bit. I wanted to say that, that in terms of stewardship, one of the things that it's very easy to do right now is get into an orientation of, ooh, we're losing money on rentals. We're losing weddings. Money from not having weddings. We're not getting the regular, like offerings that we did. And so the sense of financial threat to your institution. And if you lead with that, I think you're going to suffer even more versus being like, all right, this is our opportunity as a congregation to use the tools of our time to be fully engaged with the people that we are charged with being in community with, to serve, and being partners in ministry together. And by sharing the value, really doing the work of the church in a way where you're like, hey, we're doing this, we're addressing that, we're creating these opportunities, and be respectful of the time we're in, but also positive, hopeful, joyful, strategic, giving people connecting opportunities, and honest about money. But make sure you're leading with your mission. That's really important. Now, I want to say, in terms of one thing that this is a personal bias of mine, I hate your weekly offering, the collection. Because I stopped carrying money in my pocket, like cash, 10 years ago. And so every time I'm in congregation and they pass the plate, I'm like, are you kidding me? You're trying to nickel and dime us every week to give you a little money when we don't even carry money anymore. So some of your congregations are starting to do online, like text to pledge. I actually think, that's a nice thing for people to be able to text a pledge, but you're asking them to text a little bit of money to you digitally every week. I think this is a great time to focus on a year-round canvas where you're really looking at individuals and being in touch in a high, one-on-one relational way, and being like, hey, all right, so-and-so, we want to talk about your involvement in the congregation. We want to make sure you're connected. There's things about really helping people get involved in congregational life, and making sure people are connected, and then also making sure that people know, that you value their support. And I think at this time, for you not to be like, oh, we're doing our online gatherings. Here, we're going to pass the digital plate. Here's a link. Please text money. Text your $5 here and there. I'm like, no. Think big, people. Think big. There's a great story. Who told the story? Oh, Jim Griffith, who's big, mega church consultant, Willow Creek, all these things. I went to a church planting boot camp he led. He tells the story of this pastor who's starting a new congregation, and there's a bunch of people involved. Maybe it's 20, 50 families. He goes to meet with this guy who's high-powered businessman to ask for money. So he goes in, sits down. Bob says, Pastor, have a seat. He's like, oh, I just want to thank you for your support. I know, because they know what the meeting's about, and they don't know it's a money meeting. And Bob says, so Pastor, let me have it. He's like, well, we're doing this and that. And he's like, Bob, come on, what do you want? How much do you want? And the pastor, all right. We really would like to ask you for $10,000. That means so much to us. Bob says, oh, my wife is going to be very disappointed. The pastor's like, what do you mean? What do you mean disappointed? He's like, we were prepared to write you a $100,000 check. We'll give you the $10,000. Come back to us when you have a vision on the level of the support that we are willing to offer. So for you to be asking your people every single time, oh, please, $5, $20, it's like, I think you need to be doing your fundraising at a much higher level, saying like, hey, because it's also, we're still in like a lot of you in canvas season, really being good about communicating what you're doing, showing people that you're embracing this opportunity, this time. How are you called as Unitarian Universalists to be at this time, to lead at this time, and say, not only are we moving all of our ministry online, there's more need for what we have than ever. We are going to seize this opportunity. We need every single person to pledge what they can. And a lot of you are struggling. So we understand if you can't pledge like normal, if it's, but whatever it is, we want you to just make your pledge so that we know that like you're committed. And if it's just $20 right now, instead of your $2,000 that it was before, that's fine. We're also going to do fundraising to have a fund so that we can do more to help you, whatever it is. But go big so that your member who'd be like, you know what? Yeah, my portfolio took a big hit, but I've still got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. Maybe you don't have that person in your congregation, but maybe you do. And there's like, if your vision's high enough, that person's like, you know what? I want to help you do what you're talking about. So when it comes to stewardship, you've got to think big in terms of your vision and get the money in bigger chunks, I think, and not nickel and dime. So that's just one of my preferences. I love it when congregations, and some of these out there, they never ask for people to support the operational budget week to week. All they do is collect money and give it away. I love that. And then you know that the money supporting the congregation, the operational budget, is from the canvas. Love that. All right, now let's kind of wrap. I don't want to wrap up my prepared topics. I want to get into your questions. If you have questions, you can put them in the comment now. Let's see. All right, and there's a bunch of them. So one, I am going here. I'm going to do follow-up sessions. So on my UU Planet Facebook page, so if you're not watching this right there then, but later on, facebook.com/UU Planet, that's the hub for all of my work with Unitarian Universalist congregations. You can message me there and share questions. So if I don't hit all your questions right now, feel free to message me, and questions that I think would be great for a public Facebook session like this, I will address. And then whenever, if you send me a question and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that in a session, I'll schedule it, I'll do the session, like this, and then I'll send you the link just to make sure that you get the answer. Let's see. All right, questions. And some of these maybe we covered. How do I welcome and encourage newcomers without sounding like I'm trying to sell the church to them? So one, I think that we very often we worry about being too pushy. But I think in today's day and age, when people are interested in a congregation, when there's a catalyst in their life, and they're like, I'm going to check this out, and from what I know, like, this could be right for me, you're not doing so much, focus less on pitching the congregation to people who don't want anything to do with you, and think about, like, how do you do a great job of receiving the people who are like, hey, I think this is a great match. Is it? Well, what do we have to do? You have to welcome and greet them. You have to orient them to what you're all about. You have to educate them about your faith, your religion, traditions, Unitarian Universalism. A lot of this stuff can be recorded online, living on your YouTube channel. I'll talk about YouTube in a second. But you need to make sure that you are giving them the information that they need to decide that, yes, your congregation is right for them. Most of that can be on video. And for those of you who are video challenged, text and photos is great too. But you have to give them the information. But we're at a time where people are used to video, interactive, live, immediate responses. So you have to be ready to meet people right where they are. And so in your online gatherings, your Zoom webinars, whatever you're doing, to share, hey, we know, we have a bunch of new people here, or we know we're getting newcomers every week. Peter Bowden said, this is a time when we're seeing a spike in visitors. If you're visiting, we want to make sure we welcome you in the best way we can. And here's our page with the link to the different opportunities. And you can choose which of those opportunities. Maybe you have 5 different things. Sign up for our next newcomer gathering via Zoom. Schedule a one-on-one with our membership team, our hospitality group. Email so-and-so. You can always email or call. And if you're not sure or you're not ready for one of those, you can fill out this form with some notes, some ideas, just like talk to us, tell us, how can we be of support? Submit, set something up so it's easy, like an online, you call it like an online welcome table, okay? But just, I wouldn't worry so much about, like, you're more in trouble when you're like, oh, we have 10 newcomers in our Zoom webinar chat. Well, I don't want to be pushy. I'm not going to tell them how to connect. No, that's why they're there. Do it. All right. Let's see. So people saying lots of newcomers. Yes, this session is being recorded. Facebook. All right. Thank you for answering each other's questions. All right. There's some Zoom questions. I'm not going to get into the Zoom details, but I'll look through the questions and share some responses, or do sessions that are more like specific on Zoom. I did a little Zoom, like, should you use Zoom webinar or Zoom meeting the other day. I posted that to YouTube and it's like, boom, 1,000 views. Zoom, everyone's on Zoom. All right, now, can we talk YouTube for a second? YouTube, I think, is a fantastic way to help people get to know your congregation. Besides whether you're doing services on Zoom, this, that, whatever your platform is, however your team, your ministers, etc., are sharing video content, one of the things you can do on a YouTube channel is organize your channel. So you can, once you have the channel, you can customize it. So check this out. Imagine you go to, actually my home congregation, I was trying to think of which, I saw a congregation as a great example of that. I'll find the link. But what you can do is you can set it up so if someone has not subscribed to your YouTube channel, when they land on it, so you link to it from your congregation's page and share it here and there, when they land on your YouTube channel, you can have a video just for people who aren't subscribed. So think of it like, oh, here's a video for newcomers. You can also have a video for people who are subscribed. So, that could be different content. But then YouTube lets you put little strips. This is on the main channel, the main page on a desktop. You can organize different sections of the page. So you could have about Unitarian Universalism, all the videos. Maybe it's a sermon from 2 years ago, sermon video. Maybe it's a class you taught and there's a little video. Maybe you did an FAQ Facebook Live session on what is Unitarian Universalism last week, but you can download YouTube Facebook videos. Yes, First Unitarian is doing YouTube. I'm not sure if, Jen, I'm not sure if you guys have set up the page to have the different structure I'm talking about. If you have, awesome, I'll check it out. But you can set up, so here's new Unitarian Universalism intro material. You can add content, like you could create a playlist for your congregation where you put all your newcomer about Unitarian Universalism videos together, plus videos from other sources like the UUA into a About UU playlist, and then you put that at the top of your channel as the first set of content people see. Then below that, you could say, top sermons from 2019. Just put 3 to 5 sermons, say 5 sermons, the best online video content from your sermons you have, you put it there. Why? Well, if a newcomer lands on your YouTube channel, you want to give them what's a Unitarian Universalist? You want to show them your best content. So like, here's the great examples of worship. You could have testimonials. So make a playlist of testimonials and build it out. And this means when people land on your page, even if you're using content from other channels, you can showcase that, here's what this congregation cares about. Say you have a section on, welcoming congregation. And so there's different videos from the UUA and this source and that source and a sermon or two, boom, to make it clear people can find that content. So I love that YouTube in terms of that structure. A lot of questions about doing Zoom to do worship services, and do you push it out to YouTube Live, Facebook Live? I know congregations where like they're trying to do live streaming and to Facebook, and they just had capacity issues this last weekend where it's like, preparing stream for 10 minutes. Oh, it's brutal. All right, so we got to wrap up. So I want you to just think about this. There've always been people interested in our congregations considering us for whatever reason, a death in the family. They had children, something else. They moved, they're lifelong UU, but now they moved to a new city and they're, whatever it is. We've always had people who are looking for us. But for many years, our congregations have not been online. Yes, we've shared invitations to go to services, but we haven't been meeting people where they are, many congregations, where we're actually trying to interact with them and help them feel welcomed, affirmed, and just like really, embraced as a potential new member online. And so now we have the opportunity to do that as all of our attention moves online. That is really high functional work. Like this stuff, you need welcoming and hospitality volunteers, if you have staff who can do that, to really just, whatever you're doing online, I want you to look at it, step back and be like, all right, let's do a little check, be like, how are we addressing the newcomers in this situation? Like every single thing you put out there content wise, a post, a this, a that, a video, an invitation to worship, a Zoom webinar, a Zoom meeting, just be like, all right, real quick team, what's our greeting strategy for this? And it might be like, oh yeah, Peter said, share our newcomer gathering, our monthly newcomer gathering link. Just share that in every single gathering just to cover yourself. Whatever it is, just make sure you're doing that, because I guarantee you there are people who are trying to connect with your congregation. And as we are facing this situation with the COVID-19 coronavirus, we need each other. And so we need to show up for the people and be ready to meet those people who are looking to us to be their community. So I hope that is helpful. I'm going to wrap it up there. And again, I'll tell you, because I've been working with digital ministry strategy and media, broadcast television, for years now, I'm getting very busy. I'm trying to figure out the way to structure what I'm doing to be of most value to help as many of you as possible. So feel free to reach out if you want to do any kind of one-on-one like staff team strategy session or trainings. But I'm also looking at setting up courses and content where I can just share information in very accessible ways, and these sessions as well. Okay, so just reach out, and my scheduling of strategy sessions, I'm gonna have that automated and updated once I figure out today, tomorrow. My daughter's home, like schooling from home, we're figuring that out too. So I just want to end by saying, do me a favor. Make sure you thank your media and other volunteers who are helping to bring your services online. Many religious educators are getting hit with massive additional work, being ones to do a lot of technical stuff. Make sure you thank them, ask them how they're doing, check in on their overload. Do the same for your minister. This is a time when you have to be like, thank you for your support, and just be grateful. There's some congregations that have been hearing horror stories of people nagging people, being mean because the service didn't start at the right time on Sunday, yesterday. That's because Facebook couldn't handle the capacity or something was going on. We got to be kind. And so just lift that up, that kindness, let people know how much work it is to do what we're doing. And, I'm going to try and help. But the having people get slammed because of a technical glitch, I've had my fair share. This is so hard. I would do this, the digital stuff all the time, media, television, live streaming. And I've been hit with problems because of all the capacity issues, and it's really hard, people. So my love to all of you. Thank you for your work, your ministry, all you're doing, and I will talk to you very soon. All right. Have a good one.